someone said it the other day that it was pushing people away from God. Absolutely not. It's brought so many people to God. It's unbelievable. It brought me to God. That's impossible. This is the biggest deception. The greatest trick that the devil ever pulled wasn't convincing you that he didn't exist. It was convincing you that God doesn't exist.
Hey friends, Sean from SGT Report here with a extremely interesting interview with my friend David Weiss. I truly believe if you listen to this one with an open mind and an open heart and then do your own research, I think you'll be shocked by what you find. And because this interview is sure to be demonetized by the tyrants at YouTube, I want to give a shout out to this interview's sponsor, Virtual Shield. I'm sure you guys have heard that DoorDash announced that its security has been breached and 4.9 million of its customers were affected. It just begs the question, who's next? And one of the best things you can do to help protect yourself online is sign up for a free 30-day trial of Virtual Shield VPN. A VPN like Virtual Shield allows you to create a secure connection to another network over the internet. And Virtual Shield can be used to shield your browsing activity from prying eyes, whether you're on a Wi-Fi connection at a coffee shop in a foreign country or at home. Here, let me show you how easy it is. Go to virtualshield.com and download the free 30-day trial, install it on your computer, and click connect. It's as easy as that. Once you're connected, your IP address will appear as a different one. In my case, one coming from Chicago, and I don't live anywhere near Chicago. And this month, Virtual Shield is offering a Halloween month-long special of 25% off all VPN plans and all premium add-ons for as low as a cup of coffee. So sign up for a free 30-day trial to Virtual Shield VPN and see what the hype is about. You have nothing to lose and your privacy to keep. I'll leave the link below. Okay, guys, let's get started with our friend David Weiss. David's been on the broadcast before with our friend Crow 777, and this time I thought it'd be fun to get Dave on by himself to talk about all things occult, because what does occult mean, friends? Let's go to the definition. Occult means supernatural, mystical, hidden, and esoteric is another great word for this conversation, which means intended for or likely to be understood by only a small number of people with a specialized knowledge or interest. What do you think the elite know that they're not telling us? Well, I think we've all uncovered that there's quite a bit they know that they're not telling us. Look no further than Building 7 on 9/11. David Weiss joins me right now. Hey, David.
Thanks for having me on, Sean. I really appreciate it. A big fan of your work.
Well, I'm a big fan of your voice because you've got a take no hostages attitude, or I don't know what, man. You're putting yourself out there, and you're really researching some interesting things. I want to let people know that you were formerly involved with the Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole podcast, and your YouTube channel is DITRH, and your current podcast is the Flat Earth podcast. Do I have that right?
Yeah, the Flat Earth podcast by name, flatearthpodcast.com. You can find all the links right there.
All righty. So I've already said two keywords, esoteric and hidden, occult. I want to just start with the macro, though, David, because I feel like reality as we know it is not necessarily the reality that actually is, meaning the elite have shaped our thinking methodically over decades and centuries, and they've actually brainwashed people in a number of different ways, not the least of which is this UN Agenda 2030 stampede toward taking away all of our current forms of energy in the name of saving the planet. Look at Greta Thunberg or whatever her name is. They roll out Greta, this poor, frightened, terrified 16-year-old who truly believes, David, that the world will die. People are doomed within the next 10 years if we don't implement carbon taxes and stop using cars that run with gasoline. It's just absolute madness, isn't it?
It's absolutely insane. This whole global warming thing. They've been telling us, I'm in my mid to late 50s, and they've been telling us that the waters are going to rise and we're going to be underwater. Well, I live on the shore. I know I'm in the water a lot. I know where the rocks are and the poles are, and nothing has moved. It's the exact same height it was when I was a kid. And their explanation is, well, it's only rising in some areas.
Yeah,
does that make any sense to you, Sean?
No, but I think according to Al Gore, we'd have to go and revisit his documentary, his film, An Inconvenient Truth. But remember the hockey stick chart? That's not come to pass. And we know that the data, the scientific data at the IPCC, the International Panel on Climate Change, I believe is what that's called, the scientists got caught fudging the data to suit their narrative. Meanwhile, New York City's not underwater. None of these cities that Al Gore fearmongered us about back in the late 90s with that documentary, with his little movie there, none of that stuff has come to pass. And yet we still are told we need to give up our fossil fuels, and they're not fossil fuels, by the way, but we need to give up oil, natural gas, coal burning, what else? Gasoline for our cars, all in the name of saving the planet. And you know what, David? It's really all in the name of saving the planet for the elite by killing off the rest of us. That's what it is. It'll turn us all into serfs.
We're practically there right now. Everything they tell us is essentially a lie. I used to think, okay, they're lying about some things. When I did the Deep Inside the Rabbit Hole podcast, I was just, going over all of the big false flags, all of the, the hoaxes and everything. And then I was finding a hard time finding anything on the news that was real. The fact that, think about this. I'm sure you're aware of this, the Smith-Mundt Act, where Obama actually took the time and effort to reverse the Smith-Mundt Act, which was that the media can't lie to purposely to the American people. He took the time and effort to repeal that. What is the purpose of that? I mean, if that's a law that's in place, why would anyone ever remove it?
It's even worse, David. It's not just the media. The Smith-Mundt Act prevented our own government from using propaganda against its people. When they dismantled the Smith-Mundt Act, it now allows the government, quote unquote, legally, to propagandize and lie to the people. So it's not just the media, it's the media in bed with the government lying to the people, which is the classical definition of fascism.
Yeah, Sean, was it you that said that when you saw the suppression of on YouTube of some topics, that makes you look deeper into it?
Well, there's truth in that, yes. But I think, I've said that. A lot of people have said that. If you go to Google right now, it's not the same tool that it was a year or two ago. Anybody waking up right now that wants to do research into UN Agenda 21, good luck to you. If you want to research Building 7 on 9/11 and the BBC reporting about the collapse of that building 20 minutes early, good luck to you. Same with YouTube. The algorithm changes have been so wide and sweeping that now the information, the truthful information about these things doesn't come up in search results, Dave.
Yeah, their algorithms have really progressed over the last year, and you can hardly find any truth on there. If you do find it, it's buried. I search for certain videos that I know are out there. I do the exact name of the video, the name of the channel, and it doesn't show up for like 10 pages. There's just propaganda, from top to bottom.
Yeah, and it's all the official narratives. So guys, that's why we're having this conversation. I know this is a very challenging topic. Look at Dave's sweatshirt. I mean, I think we know what hill he's willing to die on here. And we had this conversation briefly before I hit record. And I told Dave, I'm not willing to die on this particular hill, although I will say that I am a globe, as we're told, skeptic. I'm not a flat earther, but I want to make that point, guys. There are so many hills that the enemy wants to kill us on, right? They don't want us talking about vaccines and how that might lead to autism in our kids. I have 2 vaccine-damaged children. I know exactly what these chemical weapons delivery systems can do to little kids, to babies. What else? UN Agenda 2030. They don't want people to know the truth, that Greta and all of her supporters, including George Soros, want us to give up everything we have now in the name of saving the planet. What else, Dave? What else don't they want us talking about?
This is a world of mind control, and they do the mind control through the news, which is all propaganda. They use fluoride, they use vaccines, they use GMOs, they're spraying our skies. And they're literally mind controlling us. They take our children at young ages, even before we send them to preschool, the Disney programming, the Sesame Street, it's all propaganda to control their minds, to put core beliefs in there before they even have the ability to judge these things. They're hearing from, their teachers, which are gods to them at that age, and they're setting these core beliefs in them. And it makes it very, very difficult with all of the, brain limiting substances that they're putting in our body for people to break free of it.
All right, you mentioned something interesting. They're putting these beliefs in our heads even when we're children. Let me go to a screen share here and see if I can do this effectively. I think you'll enjoy this. All right, let's just see. Here it is. When we talk about implanting these beliefs in the minds of children, they've been doing it to all of us. And so as we bridge into your topic here, the nature of the shape of the earth, let's just listen to this from Bugs Bunny, shall we? The King of Spain and Christopher Columbus discussed the shape of the world.
Round. Columbo, the world she's flat. The world that she's around. She's flat. Look, King, she's around like the apple. She's flat like the pancake.
All right, I'll pause it there. Now let's jump to the end, because then Bugs Bunny, in all his brilliance, he proves it to us that the world is round by throwing a baseball that zips around the world, Dave.
Well, must be true.
That's a pretty good pitch, 24,900 miles. See? All right. So, look, Bugs Bunny aside, this is a really important topic, because if you look at the Bible and what the Bible says, it describes something quite a bit different than what NASA tells us we live on.
They're putting flat earth in all shows. It's just on Bob's Burgers, which I don't watch. Somebody sent me a clip yesterday. They mentioned flat earth in that just yesterday, from the date we're recording this. Obama mentioned flat earth half a dozen times during his presidency. Hillary constantly with the shattering of the glass ceiling. They're always sticking it in front of our faces, and this is pure mind control. Nobody wants to be a flat earther. When I learned that there's problems with the ball, I didn't mention it on our podcast for 6 months, because I didn't want to discredit myself with all the work I've done on the other big events that happened. But then the farther I got into it, I couldn't believe what was going on. And then, as our good friend Crow 777 says, belief is the enemy of knowing. People believe they live on a spinning ball with water on the outside, flying through an infinite vacuum, but they don't know why they believe it. They just believe it, and they think that there's thousands of proofs, but there's zero.
Let me ask you something. Did you see the clip? And I want to make a point here, because, look, people are afraid of this topic, and they don't like anybody. Most people don't like us even talking about this topic, because they think it's disinformation, right? But I just want to make the point that you've been on with Owen Benjamin, and he's willing to take a look at this topic. And I don't know if you've seen this clip. I'll cut it in here, David. Owen Schroyer talking to Sam Tripoli and Eddie Bravo over at InfoWars on the air live in a video, when Owen Schroyer says, look, I don't know what this thing is, but I guarantee you my research has led me to believe that it's not a ball, and what we've been told is a complete fable.
I've always said I'm open-minded whenever we talk about this. I'm not a flat earther.
But you're not married to the ball, right?
No. In fact, I'm willing to admit that whatever math that we have for the current size and shape of the earth has been proven wrong. I mean, it's been proven wrong. You can't deny it. That's just, in my opinion, a fact. Now, has the earth been proven to be flat? No, I don't think you can say that either.
No.
That's Owen Schroyer, and he's a pretty credible guy. So there's credible people that have looked at this. And you say there's problems with the ball model. Maybe you should just explain what those problems are, because I think most people who haven't dug into this topic would say that's just nonsense.
So a couple weeks ago, I was on InfoWars with Eddie and Sam Tripoli and Alex Jones for a solid hour. Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
I'll send you the link. Alex is actually seriously looking into flat Earth right now. But we had a great conversation, and Eddie had my back, just kept telling Alex to be quiet, let him speak. And I got a lot of information out there. But, when people first hear about flat Earth, they want to attack it without even knowing what it is. And then if they do a quick Google search, they end up at the Flat Earth Society, which is all fake stuff. And they think they know what flat Earth is, but they're 100% wrong. Then they don't even know what the globe model is. When you tell them the facts of the globe, they don't even believe you. Like, we're spinning faster than the speed of sound. We're orbiting at 66,000 miles per hour, which is unfathomable, while chasing the sun at over 500,000 miles an hour, while the galaxy is going 2.2 million miles an hour in a fourth direction. Those are only 4 of, I believe, 8 different directions that we're moving at the same time. It's absolute insanity. So the people will come at me and they've got the gotcha question, like, what about circumnavigation? Where's the edge? What about all the other planets are spheres and we're flat? Would be daytime all the time. Why can't I see England from the United States? If you watch the sunset and then quickly go to the top of a building, you can watch it set again. What else? Snipers, they count for Coriolis, and then they come up with the final one. Why would they lie? There are solid answers to every single one of those questions. All you have to do is be willing to look, but the mind control has people refusing to even consider the look. And the saying I have is, condemnation without investigation is proof of your indoctrination.
Well, look, from my vantage point, I would say also one of the weird ones is that pilots, and my wife's brother is a pilot. He was in the Air Force, flies helicopters, Blackhawks, and now he's a commercial pilot for a commercial airline. Very, very smart guy. And he has never been taught to account for the Earth's curvature while flying any sort of aircraft.
Right. Airplanes fly over the Earth plane. Imagine a plane taking off from near the north, from northern Alaska, where the Earth is only rotating at maybe 400 miles per hour, which is going over 1,000 miles per hour. And they try to land on a north-south runway, which is moving sideways at 1,000 miles per hour. How do they land on that? How do they gain that speed, that extra 600 miles an hour of speed, and land going sideways? None of it makes any sense, but we've been brainwashed to believe that it all works, and there's zero proof. Every test for curvature, motion, spin of the Earth has failed and has proved the opposite, but they never teach you that in school.
When I had you and Crow on, I did show a document from NASA that
You had me and Marty on.
Oh, it was you and Marty. That's correct. Do you remember the name of that document? It was a NASA document talking about a flat Earth and aeronautical vehicles, airplanes, I believe.
Yeah, NASA and the FAA, their documents say they treat the Earth as a flat stationary plane. That's it. I mean, it's in their documentation. Once you understand the complications with the spinning water ball rocket that we supposedly live on, where high pressure air is next to a vacuum, which is impossible in the law of thermodynamics without a container, nothing makes sense. When you bring that up to somebody that just believes, belief is believing without any knowledge, they'll say gravity holds the air down. Well, simply sucking up air or water through a straw with the weak vacuum of your lungs disproves that gravity can hold that down.
All right, let's do this. I want to ask you something, and it'll probably bridge us into the issue of NASA and, again, the occult. NASA being an occultic, really from day one, an occultic organization. Why have you chosen this hill to die on? Literally, and I say that euphemistically. I don't want you to pass away or anything, but literally, they will destroy us for having certain conversations. They don't want us talking about any of this stuff. Why this particular issue for you, Dave? Why is this the most important issue in your mind?
So if you don't know who you are, where you are, or even what you are, you give away your power. They want us believing that we are just a random speck that evolved from nothing on a random speck, and where billions of other random specks are, where we could die at any moment. There's limited resources. There's limited everything. And they want us to feel insignificant. Okay. I didn't get into this to feel significant. I came across this truth, kicking and screaming, because this is not anything I chose. It is just the truth, and it found me. And the more I look into it, the more my eyes are open to the deceptions of this world. So why do I think flat Earth is important? Because things like 9/11, that's important, and other deceptions, they're all important, but they're baby truths next to the flat Earth. Because if everyone woke up tomorrow and realized the Earth was flat, then they'd realize we're in an intelligently designed system. We're in a special place, and we have a lot more power than they want us to know. I've always heard, I've looked into spiritual things and all sorts of things. Thoughts create things, and And I always like, oh, that sounds good, but I don't know how much I believe it. It is it is a spiritual war that we're in, and what the secret that they're keeping from us is that our thoughts create the world around us. And if our thoughts are limited and we live in fear, which just the news propagates all the time, we have limited power. And then when we're afraid, we willingly give our God-given rights of freedom away, and they gladly take them from us. They have divided us. Fake countries, fake, sports teams, people are divided. Races, people are divided. The North, the South, they divide us up every possible way they can. And that takes away our power. We live in a peaceful world. It's the governments that are creating the hate and the chaos and convincing order followers to take up their fight. The government doesn't, like George Bush didn't kill people in the Iraq War. He convinced order followers to go kill other order followers.
Right. That's interesting. That's a good way to put it. So is it safe to say that this issue helped you see God?
Sean, I might have mentioned this before, but I'll mention it again. I would listen to all sorts of truth podcasts and whatnot, and I would love what they're saying. And then as soon as they mention God, Jesus, creator, anything, tuned out, disregarded everything. I'm on my way and I'm not coming back. When I understood, not believed, when I used my brain to look at the facts and understood that we live in a intelligently designed system, I realized it was created. Now, I'm not going to say who created it. Whatever. We live in an intelligently designed system, and we are in an important place. That changed everything for me. And I have really been able to take advantage, not take advantage, but to implement these understandings to help enhance my life. People that focus on negativity will bring more negativity into their life, but people that focus on reality and truth will send that energy out. They don't want us knowing that our energy creates the world that we want, and they're taking our energy. They're putting us in fear, and they're feeding off of that fear energy. If I said that right.
No, I believe you did. I think they are literally spiritual vampires. I think that's what they are. And I think what's interesting about this topic in your history, previously being maybe, I guess, an atheist or agnostic.
I just never believed any religion. I looked into, I explored bunches of them, but I'm like, I don't believe it. Creator, I evolved and here I am. But that was such a silly belief when you look at the facts behind it.
Well, it's interesting that you said, but I evolved, blah, 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 because you're right. They want to separate us and our children from any idea of a creator. Because once you believe in a creator, you won't fall for any of the nonsense that they sell, which is their endless fear peddling, and their UN Agenda strategy, which is their UN Agenda 2030 strategy, which is to convince us all that human beings are the problem. And so, but I just want to say this. I think the spiritual aspect of this conversation relates to all of us. Look, they're going to call us science deniers for having this conversation.
It's the opposite of the truth.
But guess what? Werner von Braun, one of the ultimate scientists, the man behind the Apollo rockets, right? The scientist brought over here from Operation Paperclip to head up NASA's project to get us to the moon, on his tombstone had Psalm 19:1, which says, "The heavens declare the glory of God, and the firmament showeth his handiwork." There's nothing more spiritual than that.
Right. Once you realize the trick, the deception, then they no longer can take your power. What happened, and the thing that happened in Boston, and some of the schools, and they're still living in fear. They don't realize what's going on. But once you see the grand trick, the deception of the world that we live in, it's like going to a magician and knowing how his tricks are done. Their magic no longer works on you, and because people. They'll ridicule it, they'll laugh at you, then they'll get angry, then they realize it's true, they get depressed, and then they go, what can I do anyway? There's nothing I can do. I'm just a mere person. And that's the deception. Just by you seeing the trick and saying, I do not accept, I do not consent, takes away their power. And if enough people do that, which is, I believe, a small percentage of the world, they're gonna lose everything. This flat Earth deception needs to get out. And thanks to YouTube, I hate to thank YouTube, and thanks to Nikon for making their P900 and P1000 super zoom camera, and our ability to look at all this stuff. The word is getting out fast, but they are scrambling to hide it through amazing censorship. If you Google flat Earth, you're going to get nothing but garbage to steer you away from it. If you watch one good flat Earth video, the next one is going to be propaganda. There's going to be they're putting stuff below the videos, like you're watching a moon landing fake video, which clearly shows the moon landings never happened. There's a moon landing, Wikipedia link below there.
Yeah, that's right. And that's Google and YouTube's continued effort to try to dispel what they call misinformation. And frankly, conversation. They don't want conversations like this being had because they don't want any more people to wake up. I just did a video I released the other day called "The World is Waking Up to This Matrix." And it's not the matrix of this flat Earth thing specifically, it's the matrix of lies in which we're bathed from birth. So look, I mean, I guess the other thing I would bring up is the origins of life. On the origins of life and the theory of Darwinism. Darwinism is just absolute nonsense, and we'll be called science deniers if we say it. I'll just make the point that if you go down that rabbit hole with some of the leading scientists and ask them what was the first spark of life then, the very first spark of life, if God didn't speak it into being, if he didn't speak all of this beauty into being, what was the first spark of life that then led to evolution and all of these beautiful, incredible species? They will say, well, life was probably seeded here by aliens. Now, David, tell me that's not as big a leap of faith as believing in a creator, in God.
It's a bigger leap in faith, in my opinion. The whole evolution thing, I used to believe it blindly, but in short, the story is an amoeba turned into a fish. The fish grew legs and climbed out of the water and happened to find another fish that grew legs, mated with that fish, made a monkey, and the monkey turned into a human being. This is insanity. This is absolute insanity. There's no proof of evolution. Where one species turns into another. It's never happened.
Yeah, and I think there is some evidence of intra-species, within a species evolution, right? So fish can they can camouflage and
macro evolution.
I just want to make Go ahead. Well, I just want to make the point. I had a conversation about this specifically, about Darwinism and all of the lies of Darwinism, with my friend James Perloff. And if you guys want to go watch that video, it's called "The Elite Don't Want You to Know God is Real." And at the end of the day, that's basically what this conversation is about, David. And I know you didn't specifically want to go there, so we can go in any direction you like. Like, for instance, I think the infrared photography being done right now, showing us distances that ought not be able to be seen given the 24,900-mile spherical model, we ought not be able to see these distances that we're now able to see. Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, there's endless videos now showing distances that we can see things that should be behind, dozens of feet, miles of curvature, but under the right conditions, we can see them. The problem is a blind globe believer will say, look, that building, you can't see the bottom half of that building, when in reality, you shouldn't even be able to see the top of the building. What happens is, over distance, your angle, like when you look down at the floor, you're looking down at, let's say, a couple feet in front of you, you're looking down at a 45-degree angle. As you look out farther and farther, that angle gets less and less and less. And when it starts hitting that 90-degree mark, it starts creating a mirage that looks like a horizon. So that fake horizon is there. It looks like the sky, the mirage. And when something goes into it, it disappears from the bottom up. That's one reason that things disappear from the bottom up. And there's other reasons. The whole thing with perspective, angular resolution of things, the miraging that happens, atmospheric density, all of these explain clearly how things disappear from the bottom up. But if something's missing, this much, and they think a baller will say, "Oh, that's the curve of the Earth," when in fact it should be missing this much. They don't do the math. They go, "Oh, something's missing, therefore it's curvature." I say, can you see my house right now? It must be curvature. The reason that you can't. that it's nonsense.
I want to read an article here for everybody in just 1 second. But before we do that, I know you have an app. And by the way, guys, I've looked at this app. It's absolutely fantastic. It's this Flat Earth app. Do you want to tell people about this app? I would love to show the YouTube video you guys made of it, because the YouTube video is just fantastic. Maybe I'll link that below. But tell people about this app.
Yeah, so I made this app originally for me. For when I'm talking to people, I wanted to show them how the model works, okay? And there's flat earthers that know the earth isn't a ball that don't 100% agree with this map. We don't have a perfect map of the world, but on my app, the Flat Earth, Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, the sun is tied to the hour hand, and it goes around once every 24 hours. And wherever you see the sun, when you're looking at the clock, it's noon at that place. So if I'm looking late at night here and I see the sun over Sydney, Australia, and I call up my friend in Sydney, I'll say, what time is it? He'll say, it's noon. So it's showing how the sun circles around. It shows how the sun goes in and out between the tropics. You could jump 3 months ahead. So it jumps out to January, and you can see that it's on the outer circle of the Tropic of Capricorn. So the outer southern hemiplane, the outer southern continents are having their summer. And because it's so far out on the flat earth, it's the north, it's lower in the sky, and it's our winter because the sun is farther away. It's not the angle of the sun. On the app, also, we have, you can add the stars, the zodiac. So the zodiac will be going around. The zodiac laps the sun once every 365 days. And that's why the sun is in a different sign, like about once a month. The sun also laps the moon every 28 days. That explains the phases of the moon and its position in the sky. The app has a lot of other things. It has a link for your daily weather. So, it's a great weather app. It has a countdown timer if you want to put your next event in there. But the most important thing, the reason I've really upgraded this app is because in the bottom left-hand corner, I have featured video of the day. And what it is every day I send out, it automatically just loads on your app without doing anything, a featured flat earth video, something new, something really good. And I challenge any listener, if you get the app, just watch the featured video, or one video a day. During the week, I try to do short ones, longer ones on the weekends. There's no way you can have this app for 2 weeks and not realize the globe is a lie. And now also, if you want to go, you don't want to wait every day for a new video. Right next to that is the video archive, and you can go back and see all the other videos I've posted. This bypasses YouTube's algorithm. So when you watch this video, it's actually in a playlist. So the next video that serves up is a similar video on the same topic. So it'll just keep on bringing you new videos without letting YouTube's algorithms put in garbage. Super useful for someone that is a flat earther trying to show anyone else. But I challenge any of your listeners, get the app, support SGT, and watch the video every day. You will be amazed on what it does. Unfortunately, it's going to change your life because you're going to end up being a ball skeptic. Just like you said, you're a ball skeptic. Owen Benjamin, he doesn't like the dichotomy, flat or ball. He knows the ball is garbage. The earth could be something else. It's obviously flat. It measures flat. All tests show it's flat, but it could be something else. The one thing we know for sure is it's not a spinning rock water ball.
Yeah. All right. Well, I've sort of coined the term. I take credit for it too. I'm a globe, as we're told, skeptic. And it's just because I know we've been lied to about everything, including space. So maybe now as we wrap up this conversation, and guys, I'll leave the link for the app below this video. But as we wrap up the conversation, we should probably address the moon missions, and space. Elon Musk, NASA, all of this occult stuff, because for those listening who believed we actually put men on the moon, they're going to disregard all of this stuff, and understandably so. I mean, if we actually put men on the moon, then that probably blows holes in this entire conversation. But here's the thing, David. I had an in-depth conversation on several occasions with Bart Sibrel, the director of A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. And Bart reminded me that it was Wernher von Braun who stated that to send men to the moon, we would need to build rockets as tall as the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building is 1,250 feet tall. Do you know how tall the Apollo rockets were that they supposedly sent men to the moon with? 363 feet. Quite a bit smaller, quite a bit shorter than 1,250 feet. And then we've got all sorts of other issues with those 1969, 70, and 71 supposed moon missions. So your thoughts on space. And I guess before I turn it over to you, I just want to say they continue to hit us with the propaganda. Here's a piece from Zero Hedge. Scientists want to turn asteroids into gas stations. That comes via oilprice.com. Scientists planning to start mining the moon as early as 2025 may soon shift their attention to other celestial bodies as new study suggests there are about 1,000 asteroids closer to our planet, blah, blah, blah. And you know what the punchline is? Agenda 2030, think of this, which contain large amounts of the most precious resource, water. David, can you think of anything more preposterous than mining asteroids for water?
They come out with new articles every day. I have some Google alerts, and it's mind numbing, the stuff. They had one yesterday that said that the Chinese sprouted some lettuce on the moon in a test that they did. Believing in the moon missions, believing in space travel is only because you want to believe. You haven't looked at the evidence. You've only looked at the propaganda, and you haven't really looked hard. There are so many videos out there completely exposing this without any question. If you go on the app, hit the archive, there's a video called The Moon Hoax and Space Fakery. It's a 45-minute video. There's no possibility that you can watch that and come out the other side believing in space travel. Now, there's a lot of people that are going to get upset. They're like, what about the secret space program? I believe there is a secret space program. I call it the secret propulsion program. And I believe they're going to the outer spaces beyond Antarctica. It's propulsion. It's not going into space. It's within our system. Perhaps they're getting beyond Antarctica. I don't know. But they're not going into outer space. Because they're in the flat Earth model, there really is no outer space. You have to really get rid of the entire helio-nonsensical belief system that we've been programmed with and understand that we live in a very, very different world.
Do you want to just describe, and again, this is, talk about going down the rabbit hole. This is the fringes, guys. This is the outer fringes of the rabbit hole, okay? Because when I've gone down the rabbit hole, my mission was to uncover the people that control our banks, our money, our currency. That's where my search started, right?
Yep, me too. Federal Reserve.
Absolutely. And the privately owned banks that control our central bank in this country called the Federal Reserve. They own all of the central banks around the planet. They own the World Bank, the IMF, and the International Bank for Settlements. You can talk about these people and name them, the families that own this stuff. But the point is, guys, and there's other things, the rabbit hole of 9/11 and false flag terror. Certainly a fringe rabbit hole, but not as fringe as this topic. This is such a deep topic. And I guess what I'd ask you to do then, if you're saying that space travel is impossible, and I know what the answer is, look at Wernher von Braun's tombstone, but discuss the firmament. What is this barrier that prevents it? And I can show a video of a rocket hitting something, one of these privately owned blast-off rockets, the Go Fast rocket.
Yep.
It literally hits something without exploding, but it stops, and that's not a faked video.
Yeah, you know, the only thing that we can say about the lights in the sky above us, other than airplanes that we know what they are, is that they're lights in the sky. We don't know how big they are. We don't know how far they are. They tell us that the sun is 93 million miles away, but nobody knows how that was figured out. And, you know, the only explanation they have is, well, when Venus transited the sun, we looked at it from different parts on the Earth, and presupposing the size of Venus and presupposing the curvature of the Earth, we figured out how big the sun was. Well, those are presuppositions making up a fake equation that means absolutely nothing. In the flat Earth, the sun is small. It's not physical. It's right within our atmosphere, and it's in a position relative to everyone's position viewing it. So you see it in a different position at the same time that I see it. It's a lot to wrap your mind around, but a 93 million mile away burning ball of hydrogen for billions of years that keeps us in the Goldilocks zone is utter nonsense. and transferring heat through the vacuum of space. How does that happen? It's just nonsense. If you understood the planetary motions, how we're all spinning around the sun, chasing it, while all the other planets are staying on the same plane, chasing the sun, spiraling through space, all remaining relatively on the same plane. It's insanity. And the mind control that stops people from looking at this is the proof that they really have done a number on us. If you're, after hearing this, unwilling to truly look at the videos that I'm suggesting, through the app is the best way. There's websites also. You can just go to the Flat Earth Podcast Facebook page, the website. We have videos there. If you're unwilling to look at it, you have to ask yourself why. And the answer you're going to come up with, it's stupid. It's not worth my time. I had the same thing. We all came into this thinking it was stupid, refusing to look. Then something made us look. And it has freed me from the world that I thought was okay. I am such I feel like I'm freed, even though we're in this crazy world of control. I've freed myself from most of that control.
Yeah, and maybe it saved you. I mean, we don't have to get too far into the realm of spirituality and believing in God and humbling yourself, right? And proclaiming Jesus Christ as your own personal savior. But I would say this: if you were previously an atheist and now you're not, maybe this issue saved you. And maybe that's what they don't want. They don't want others saved. They want people to feel nihilistic. They want young people to feel hopeless, like Greta. They want young people to throw themselves at the wheels of this tyranny, of this globalist government, to be willingly a part of that wheel. That's what they want. That's how they continue to have control. Look, you said something interesting that people will bump on, and that's that the sun is inside our atmosphere. Guys, that sounds nuts, but guess what? Go to space.com. I've shared this article before. February 21st, 2019, from space.com. Listen to this. Surprise, Earth's atmosphere extends far beyond the moon. This is what they're telling us now in 2019. Space.com.
We call it moving the goalpost. Every time we nail them on something, they just move the goalpost and make up something else. It's absolute insanity when you look at it. But here's the first thing: people start pointing at planets and the sun. When someone says, "What shape is your floor?" you don't look up at the roof, at the lights in the roof, to figure out what shape the floor is. The moon looks round to me. Could be flat. It could be concave. It could be convex. It could be a disk. It could just be a light in the sky. You know that nobody has ever seen the moon. Once it goes to a new moon, the earliest anyone's seen it reappear from any angle, from anywhere, even the space station, which isn't real, is 40 hours later. Could you imagine? What about putting a rover with a camera on the moon, which is always facing Earth, and filming the Earth, a live feed 24/7, and filming the eclipse when it happens from the moon? Students around the world, they could learn so much. They'll never do it because the moon is not a place that you can go. It's my opinion, it's non-physical light in the sky. And one way to prove that is the moon is getting bigger. The moon's about half moon right now, according to the app. When the moon is nice and bright and there's spotty clouds in the sky, go outside when the moon is high in the sky and look at the clouds, and you'll see that the clouds just near the moon are the only ones lit up by the moon. If the moon was 238,000 miles away, it would light up all the clouds equally. But it doesn't. It lights up the ones that are right near it, because the moon that we see is right above the clouds. And the argument to that is, well, I go up in an airplane, I should hit the moon. No, as you go up, the moon goes up too. The moon follows you because it is in a position relative to yours.
That sounds crazy. Look, man, I'm going to tell you right now, we just lost a lot of people because that sounds crazy. As you go up, the moon goes up. Look, we don't know exactly what this is. We just know that they've lied to us about absolutely everything from birth till now for generations, guys.
Yeah.
So that's why we're having this conversation. And I guess the last thing I'd say, and I think it's a really important point, Dave, you just made it, is if it's so damn easy to get to the moon that now India is trying to do it and just failed, by the way, China supposedly has done it. We did it with actual human beings in 1969, 70, and 71. And now it's just so simple and blasé that we're focused on Mars, where supposedly there's rovers. Dave's point is a good one. Why isn't there, because it's so simple, it's so easy, why not put a GoPro camera on the moon facing the Earth and live stream all that footage back 24/7 so we can see how fragile this little blue dot really is?
NASA gets $58 million every single day. But the thing is, they wouldn't have to fund it. Corporations would fund it. Imagine a live stream with your Nestle's logo, your soda logo, whatever corporation wants to be on there. It would self-fund. It would be the highest viewed live stream ever anywhere. But they won't do it because they can't do it.
All right, Dave. Well, we'll wrap this one up, and I appreciate you coming on. This is certainly a challenging conversation, and it's a challenging one for me to have in post because I know I'm going to take heat. But look, at the end of the day, challenging topics and having conversations like these are the types of things that help people grow. It helps me grow because, look, we can't just have people on that we agree with, right? That's what the liberals do all day. That's what CNN does. That's what MSNBC does. They're a bunch of liars, and we're not liars. We're just trying to find the truth.
Sean, I just want to thank you for your courage to even address this. I'm not saying you're not claiming to be a flat earther. You're saying you're looking into the issues with the globe. That's awesome. People who have the courage to bring up this topic, to bring up NASA fraud, to bring up the ball deception. It's making a difference. The amount of people that are waking up to flat earth is insane. There's conferences there was just one in the UK, in Amsterdam, in Canada. The FE2019.com in Dallas, Texas is coming up November 15th, 14th, and 15th this year, 2019. Anyone that can make it to that, especially if you don't believe any of this, if you can make it to that conference, there's no possible way you can leave that conference believing in the ball anymore. It's truly amazing. Romania is having one. Do you know that there was a survey done in Brazil? There's a conference going on there. They had they started out small. They changed it to 1,000 seats. It sold out immediately. There's 11 million people that think the Earth is flat in Brazil alone.
Look, I know that what they like to tell people is that this is science denial. Dave is crazy. He's a science denier. But from my research, this whole thing really was concocted back, I don't have the date in front of me, let's say it was mid-14th century, with Copernicus tasked by the Vatican to come up with this heliocentric model. So do your own research, guys, but I'm telling you, the rabbit hole goes deep. Dave, do you want to shout out your websites, YouTube channel, all that other stuff? And I'll leave the link to the app below.
Yeah, I appreciate it. The website is theflatearthpodcast.com. We have a video page there. If you like using Facebook, the Flat Earth Podcast has tons of great videos there that you can go through. The Flat Earth Sun, Moon, and Zodiac Clock app, that's the one that's really going to help you get there. And it'll gently feed you one video a day. You can watch it or not. It'll remind you, reluctantly, it'll help you start seeing that the Earth is not a spinning rock water ball. On the other topics that we're not allowed to mention on YouTube, there's a website called stoplookthink.com that has all of the deleted videos from YouTube that they don't allow anymore. So if you want to research any of those things like 9/11 or any of the other ones there, they're mostly on that site with all of the hidden videos. That's stoplookthink.com.
Oh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard of that website. Is that yours?
Maybe.
That's very cool. We'll have a few too. Thephaser.com, guys, are a hand select videos that are esoteric in nature and difficult to find now on YouTube given their changing algorithms. Of course, thelibertymill.com, where we syndicate some of the best truth news channels in the world. It's all right there at your fingertips. It's basically the Drudge Report of truth. And of course, sgtreport.com, the antidote to corporate propaganda. Our guest has been David Weiss. Thanks, David.
Okay. Can I say one more word or are we out?
No, go for it.
The last word is one of the original people that put out a great series is Mark Sargent. He put out the Flat Earth Clues, which is the first video that I saw that got me questioning it. He recently put out a book, the Flat Earth Clues. It's available on audio. Also, it's actually amazing. But the reason I'm bringing it up is he has a saying, and this is a warning to anybody that's going to start looking into flat Earth. Once you see the flat Earth, you can never go back because there's nothing to go back to. So that's a forewarning. If you don't think you can handle understanding that you don't live on a spinning rock water ball, I recommend that you don't look at the links that we're calling out right now.
All right. Well, I've said that too about the men behind the curtain. Once you see the man behind the curtain, once you recognize that you really are living in a matrix, just like Neo, once you realize that and you see the man behind the curtain, you can't unsee him. All right, David, thank you so much, man.
Sean, thanks so much. A pleasure.
Yeah, my pleasure, guys. And again, for real news 24/7, you can visit us at sgtreport.com. God bless. Bye-bye.
It has one mind with many tentacles, the kind of collective gestalt, satanic evil. And these people would have you believe there's no such thing as good or evil.